Uduasha city, where the sun is a mirror and the moon a shadow. 800 years ago, the gates of death were broken by the Emperor Immortal. The 5 key bearers, however, had already unlocked them and walked right through. It is in Uduasha city they dwell. Now, the ghost field breathes next to our reality, lit by the eternal flame of the well of Udu. It is a second skin, a place where thought and will struggle against gravity and light. In other places, the dead congregate in the ghost field, but in Uduasha, the well city, the hell city, they fall straight into the flames. See its glittering districts: Kshitijpur, where the rich plot to buy the horizon; Bunda West, where the refugees of 2 different nations flock; and Pasarhantu, the vertical maze of market and murder. And here is Udepat, where the ceaseless temple resides. Its inhabitants, a family, a snake, and a god. The temple has stood since before the gods of this world were forgotten. Watch as it turns the wheels of revolution. Welcome to Desperate Attune, an actual play podcast about people who take risks so they can survive against the odds.
Well, hi. Welcome back to Desperate Attune and our current campaign of Blades in the Dark, called A Candle Ablaze, set in the city of Uduasha. I'm Tree, or Soumithri. I'm your GM, and I will be running this game for you today.
My name is Emma. I am playing Joan, a retired ghost fighter, and I use she/her pronouns.
Hi, I'm Klow. In real life, my name is Zoheb, and I'm a he/him. And I'm playing Miras Chakraborty, the crew's leech, who is an engineer turned cult leader.
I'm Prince, he/him. I play Vickers, a roof baller and Miras's wife.
I'm Soap. I play Abbas, the religious scholar, and pain in Miraz's side. And my pronouns are he and him.
Oh, I actually forgot my pronouns, which are all of them. I really don't care.
Last time, we opened with Vickers and Miraz still in the tea house when Lizzie entered for a meeting. She curiously didn't find Guppy and Baga, to whom she was supposed to speak, but her sister and brother-in-law were there. They invited her to her table. She could hardly refuse. During this conversation, Vickers worked out that Lizzie was carrying a contract between the Ashcroft family and Begum Bashundhara, the contract which the disciples were trying to steal. She just needed an opportunity to take the contract. She suggested that Lizzie take some of Miraz's trance powder for her nerves, the joys of a Victorian-era setting, and served up a slightly higher dose than would be advisable. Lizzie took it, becoming woozy and suggestible. That's when Joan strode in, with pretend clumsiness, and threw an entire platter of steaming tea into Lizzie's lap. Chairs scraped back as everyone rose and fuzzed over her, the perfect distraction for Vickers to filch the contract. In the alley outside, we saw the reason that Guppy couldn't be found in the tea house. Abbas held him firmly locked in conversation, but they'd moved from keep him busy small talk to discussing labor politics. They bonded over the unfairness of the world, the unfairness of the empire, and talked about regrets, the violence they'd done when they were younger. Guppy agreed to write for Abbas's pamphlet, to write about his pain. Back in the tea house, the rest of the disciples had accompanied Lizzie to the private booth, where she could recover from her tea-related woes. As Joan went to guard the door and Vickers tended to her sister on the fainting couch, Miraz read the contract. He discovered that the agreement was for Bashundhara to design the interior of the airship that the Ashcrofts were building. But not only that, she was on the hook to decorate 3 more airships. Vickers' family is truly planning a massive project. Of course, an unwritten stipulation was that Bashundhara would also spend some time making life difficult for the disciples, and that could not be allowed. Miraz prepared to sneak in some of his own alterations, stipulations, and that's where we pick up today.
Then I think, okay, what I was going to do probably doesn't make sense. Then I think, yes, then I do need a fair bit of time to draw up a whole new contract, especially to. Actually, you know what? It really will take a long time to draw up a whole new thing because it's very technical. This document, it's got like some fairly like advanced specifications and so on. So I'm just going to very painstakingly just change the measurements of things very slightly. So yeah, 2 millimeter, a set of like 2 millimeter radius screws becomes 2.2, that kind of thing. Stuff that will add up over time.
Change from metric to imperial units as well.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
What is your goal with
Yeah.
this? I don't quite understand.
Uh-huh. Aren't we supposed to like make a lot of like random busy work for Begum Bashundhara?
Yeah, I guess that's true.
Yeah.
If she receives this document and she notices like a billion things wrong with it, I think what she will first think is, what the fuck? The second thing she will think is, why did they change all of my specifications? And the third thing is, can I go up to Lord Ashcroft and tell him he's wrong? No. So now I'm going to be really worried about how I manage this. So I think, like, yeah, it will work in that way, in that she will be very caught up with both the logistics and the social implications. Because it'll still be a hilarious amount of.
So long as we keep her out of our hair, I guess we have succeeded in our goals.
In fact, actually, what I'm trying to do is even more subtler than that.
Uh-huh.
I want to change this document such that Begum Bashundhara reading it will not realize anything has changed. Because who really remembers every single one of their measurements, right? So it's going to be like a whole bunch of like different things, so that once she actually starts like getting involved in the project and like starts doing the work, it should add up.
Until
things should work out. But they don't. And then she has to waste a lot of time to figure out exactly what went wrong.
Uh-huh. I have a suggestion for a way we could make some coin also, which is kind of dumb, but I'm going to throw it out. Which is that in these specifications for like what is ordered, you could include something that only our temple provides. Like, you know, oh yes, as an homage to the Chakraborty temple, I want these specific snake decorations.
And she won't be surprised by that.
My very simple idea.
Snakeskin embroidery.
Yeah. My very simple idea for making some money on this score was just to steal the wallet that is inside this jacket as well.
Uh-huh. Yeah, but I think it's kind of funny if we include like something that she's contractually obliged to provide that she can only get from our temple, because then she can't really shut us down.
I have a great idea. Like maybe I change like some of the insignia such that it'll look not the insignia, but like, you know, some design and so on, of like wiring, all of that on the side, such that it looks exactly like a snake, but you don't realize until you've made it.
Yeah.
I think this is a study.
Sorry, I will point out here that like she was commanded by a god to be on your committee. And so to some extent, that's never really going to be something she doesn't do. So you can have some effect on how much focus she puts on it, but she is literally never going to miss a meeting, right? Never going to misread a document, that kind of thing, because an ancient and divine being like impressed upon her what she must do, right?
Yeah. Absolutely. It's just that if we put in the contract that like she has to do what we do and what we want her to do and what that god wants her to do, and she has to pay us for it.
Yeah. No, I was speaking more to like creating the work to distract her and creating that busy work. I think even with an incredible amount of money, unfortunately or fortunately, your god is incredibly powerful, and no one who has seen its majesty in person will ever fail to follow it. She was brought before the Eternal One and granted an audience with it, which is not something that like you get very easily. And then, you know, given a divine edict, he's not about to fuck around with that.
Yeah, she has been commanded by a god to like be invested in a temple, and that's not something we can undo. But this contract can make it so that she has to pay us for the privilege of getting our help, and also can't like do things that we strongly disapprove of.
And it can also do make it such that you are far more aware of what she's up to.
So the plan is for Miraz to subtly alter the contract so that these things become a necessity. But as you said, very subtly through just changing minor details here and there.
Okay. So you said it was
All right.
you wanted to roll study?
Yes, but I think Joan has to set me up first because this
Yes.
will take a fair bit of time.
Mhm.
And it's going to be fairly obvious that someone's like throwing sand on a document and all of that.
Yeah.
You know?
I'm
Yeah.
just imagining, how will I tell?
So Joan
Yeah.
needs to guarantee some privacy.
I've been imagining this room as like being somewhat private, but in fact, now that you say this, I suppose it is true that like it's like a screen, right? Like which is occluded. You know people are inside, you just can't
Yeah.
see exactly what they're doing. So yeah, that makes sense actually.
Mhm.
Okay, so
So basically, the issue is
Yes.
that we're going to be here for a while, and they may at some point be like, "Oh well, you can come
yeah,
back."
have
and,
your table. Yeah, they may even be like, actually, we have a booking now, so
Yeah.
I can deal with Elizabeth, but I can't deal with like the restaurant staff. So that's on you.
And I think I know exactly how Joan is going to be, because as we've established, she has this sort of intrusive thought that she's been sitting on, that this tea that we spilled, or that she spilled, would pair incredibly well with the flavor that she's just recently experienced. And under normal circumstances, most of us would be able to push that intrusive thought away and to focus on the incredibly important score
Yep.
that is happening and act basically in a rational manner. But this may not be true if you are, perhaps we could call it, suffering from the excessive exposure
Yeah.
to a god.
Well, yeah, as you say, it may not be suffering, but it is certainly being affected by the consequences of.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I'm not suffering. I am incredibly comfortable in my inability to control my impulses in this moment. Or Joan, rather, is. So what she's going to do is she's going to go up to the nearest person that is in this, that like passes the hallway by the screen. Because I assume there is some sort of like maybe a back corridor where staff passing. Yeah. And she is going to make quite the scene as she demands that the tea that they spilled, which
Yes.
wasn't even intended for us really, be brought to us right now, or rather a new batch. And she will talk
Great.
at length.
Okay. So you can definitely do this. I think the risk here is that this will take enough time that like the Hive Goons clock will take up. And like this is exactly the time you're trying to buy. So it's a double-edged sword here. Yeah, I think that it's fairly straightforward, but like, you came in with the Ashcrofts and they're not going to be like, we're not going to give this to you. So yeah, if this is what you want, then you can get it. And then we'll see how much progress the Hive makes towards you in the same time that you buy for us.
So I think you should tick the clock anyway, just for that amount of time, and then the consequence can be that you do one more tick. Because I think time is passing anyway, right?
Yeah.
I think that sounds reasonable.
But let's say that like...
So the consequence would be that you had finished the clock.
So we'll do the roll, we'll see whether I take it once or twice. That makes sense. What are you rolling here?
I think this will be a sway roll.
If it is a sway, it seems like what you are doing is less saying you must bring it and more like, oh, it would be so nice if you, and wouldn't it be such a shame if I happened to let slip to Lady Ashcroft that you didn't, that kind of more passive aggressive thing.
Of course. Yeah. We are being slightly subtle here.
So risky standard?
Yeah. I think I'm gonna do something weird. I'm going to lean into the like strange, not able to control self plus divine influence here, and use hypnotic to not only tell this person that they should be delivering tea to us, and hopefully relatively quickly, for the push effect, but also that they should later come bring some more by.
Yes.
At the temple, please.
Absolutely something you can do. And you are pushing yourself for a die?
Well, I'm pushing myself with hypnotic, but yes.
Because I was just
for a
wondering if
die.
you wanted to affect what I might give you. But if you're pushing for a die, I don't have to worry about that.
Because, of course, not only Lady Ashcroft would really appreciate this
Yeah.
gesture right now, but there is someone else in the Sanctum Sanctorum that should be able to experience this flavor.
Oh my god, yes, there is one other. Oh, we already know it plays chess. Why not drink some tea? Excellent, very good. Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah,
Well, let's go.
yeah. A 5 and a 5.
It's a 5.
Yeah, what Hiron calls a Canadian crit. Yeah, so I think that what happens here is the tea that you spilt is actually like a very small, like artisanal batch, that kind of thing. I mean, you can't really have artisanal tea because it is grown in such vast industrial quantities. But they don't have.
Well, this one isn't.
Yeah.
It's grown in someone's balcony.
Yeah, indeed. Someone's foundation balcony, probably. And as a result, it will take them like some time to locate and bring it to you, which they tell you, right? But I think it is exactly that time. I think as you do this, you see Baga back at the Hive headquarters. We don't know where this is, by the way. We don't know. It is near enough to the Imperial Quarter that Baga can get to it. But I think it's interesting if we don't yet know exactly where the Hive headquarters is. And he's gone straight to HQ because that's where V. Pyhard is. He tells her, oh, Lady Elizabeth never showed. We only bailed because her sister Vickers managed to like get us out of there. But I don't know what's going on. And V. Pyhard, unlike Baga, is quite a sharp woman and is not going to go, oh, what a nice gesture. Instead, it's going to go, something stinks about this. And she's coming here with some goons who are capable of looking like they fit in the Imperial Quarter. So I'm going to complete this clock unless you resist this, in which case they will nearly make it here.
Well, I'm definitely not resisting it because Joan is now completely caught up in her instability because she traumas out.
Oh, shit. Oh, my God. Okay.
The tea was so good.
Yeah. 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 Sorry.
Okay, I will deal with the Hive goons, but I think we should see how Miraz fares with the contract first.
Yes. So Miraz, you are like set up here. So I think in fact right now you're in a controlled position, which is to say you have more than enough time that like you can take a breath, sit down, and really like go to work on this because you know that like Joan is watching your back, and you can do this. Like this sounds like standard effect. So you're now at controlled standard.
All right. It's 3 dice. Is there a devil's bargain?
Yeah, sure there is. You can, if you like, insert a clause that also says, and you will pay for the health upkeep of anyone involved in this project, such as one Zajidan Chakraborty.
Wait, this is a devil's bargain. This is a bad thing.
Yeah, because when people read it, they will instantly know that you tampered with the contract. Or something fishy is wrong, is in the contract, because this is completely unrelated to everything else.
No, I don't think so.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, normally, yeah, I would love to, but I think Miraz would not want to get his father's name involved.
Yeah, and I think, like, the interesting thing...
I will assist you, I think.
Yeah. I was just going to say the interesting thing about this devil's bargain is, in fact, this is something you could do when you choose not to do it, right? So that's also something that's, like, quite interesting about Miraz, that, like, you don't want to put your dad in the middle.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. I will assist you, and the reason I will assist you is that having talked through this, we may have to do some alterations to paperwork. I think we will flash back to Vickers telling you, like, about a thing, a quirk of her father's writing that he does that shows up in the document. He has trouble with the number 7 or something. He, like, always writes it with this, like, oh yes, it's his lucky number. So he writes it very carefully compared to the other ones. Maybe that's not the only detail, but like some trivia about my father and like to make the contract more believable, like he would definitely want to include 7s, so don't remove those, don't change that number.
Yeah.
Or whatever.
Yeah. And there is like...
I think another quirk might be is that every time he starts writing, so he writes from the left to the right, like English, right?
Mm-hmm.
Every time he starts writing, he starts off with a bigger, bolder letter, and then it just kind of trails off into smaller and smaller font as you go to the right side of the page.
Wow.
Yeah.
So to be clear here, this man neither uses a stenographer or a secretary, nor does he use a typewriter. He handwrites everything. I love this attention to detail.
Oh yes, I think he's old-fashioned enough to, because this is an important contract. He would write it himself. He would probably have a secretary draft up something like less important,
Sure.
but he definitely doesn't use a typewriter.
Yeah. Okay. No.
Mhm.
Incredible. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to try to mimic my father-in-law's weird and bad handwriting, which he insists on using, where the only thing correctly written down is the number 7.
Yes.
Indeed.
Good.
A 4, a 3, a 1, and a 2. Like that's actually for 4 dice a remarkably low roll.
It's fine. It's a controlled roll.
And I think the controlled consequence here is that as you do this, Elizabeth is slowly coming out of her trance. Like you've taken enough time, you've managed to make it work, but I think Elizabeth is now like kind of coming back to herself, like she's feeling a bit better, her nerves are fully calmed, and she did very carefully take what would normally be her dose, right? So
Yes. So I will resist this / deal with it. This ties into my hive plans. So what I am doing while all of this is going on, I have been talking to Elizabeth and fussing over her. And I've been like, oh dear, Lizzie, you really ought to be more careful. You know you're involved with dangerous people. Are you entirely sure that was some sort of accident? You know about the hive and how they send goons and thugs after people they don't trust. Maybe it was some sort of undercover agent. In fact, maybe they're after you. And as the drug wears on and she enters the paranoid stage of the trance, I will try to convince her that the hive is obviously sending some sort of thugs to attack her, and then some sort of hive thugs will show up. How convenient.
Yes, very good. Yeah, you can absolutely resist this. I will point out, this is not a problem for you per se, but I will point out that like if someone like Elizabeth Ashcroft felt threatened by someone by an organization like the Hive, this may cause more conflict for both of these people. Anyway, please go on.
Yes, but on the other hand, I don't want her hanging out with the Hive, so if she gets in conflict with them, that's good.
Yeah, great.
They're bad people. Yes. They're very uncouth.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're treating this as a resistance?
Yes, I think so. And that's a 3, a 1, and a 5, so you only take 1.
And I'm resisting with resolve using my iron will, which I think makes perfect sense here, because obviously I'm not to be convinced about any, I will not hear any objections. This is very dangerous. Are you sure you know what you're doing?
Absolutely.
And so, my goal is for her to be paranoid and worried about hive thugs coming up to attack her when the hive thugs show up to attack, us.
Yes.
But I want to fight side by side with my sister.
Yeah. And Abbas, you notice, I think you know Veep by heart, at least by description, if not by face. And you notice that she is walking towards this cafe, which we have not yet named. And I will call it the Grapefruit. And I'm sure it'll never come up again. But she's walking towards the Grapefruit, and she is kind of actually dressed casually in that she's only wearing a shirt and maybe leggings, no visible weapons on her. And she's flanked by 2 people, and both of them are also kind of they just look, smart casual or something. They don't really look like they've got any weapons on them, right? And these are the kind of people who look like they could just be here for a good time. And if you didn't recognize her, you wouldn't think twice. And I think you have a moment to maybe either make sure Goopy doesn't see her, because if he sees her, he's definitely going to be like, oh shit, that's my boss.
All right.
Or you could do something else. And to be clear, there's a very good reason that she didn't bring Baga with her, which is that she doesn't want to have to deal with this whole dine and dash thing that he went into.
What could I do?
I think it would be very funny if you sent Goopy away for he's waiting for Elizabeth, right? He's not waiting for his actual boss.
It's just that if he spots his boss, he's going to be like, oh, what's she doing here? But yeah.
Exactly. So I feel like a thing that Abbas could do, spotting these people, would be like, hey, look, in that other direction, isn't that Lady Elizabeth? Shouldn't you go after her?
Yes, you could do that. Oh my God.
Why not? Yeah, we're just having a hard talk, and I just look over his shoulder and go, oh, wait, Guppy, I think I just saw her going that way. Maybe she just missed you at the where was it? A restaurant, a cafe?
It was a tea house.
I think maybe she just missed you at the cafe and she's heading that way now.
And I have a devil's bargain for you, which is that the direction you're pointing will lead him to Lord Ashcroft. Just like pure coincidence, just like how he happened to be in the exactly wrong place to see Miraz, like completely like wreck a guy. But of course you don't have to.
Well, Lord Ashcroft, like he's just his Imperial Court, he's just walking around town.
Yeah, he hangs out.
For a man who hates Russia, he seems to spend a lot of time just walking around.
I think that like he takes his daily constitutional and he does it with great zeal and vigor, which means that Pasarhan 2, which is very vertical, is very useful for him. And then he does it in the Imperial Quarter because it's the only place that meets his sensibilities.
I mean, okay, so this is interesting because Abbas has never interacted with his, extended family through Vickers. So, yeah, why not? Let's go with it.
Oh,
I'll take that devil's bargain.
Incredible.
All right, so I mean, this is straight up sway, risky.
I actually think this is no, I think risky. A 3, a 4, and a 2.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah, I think what happens is that he says, "Oh, great, okay, thank you," and then like immediately walks in that direction. And Abbas, I think you see him run into the Lord Ashcroft. I don't think he recognizes this man. Like he looks similar to his daughters, maybe, but like it's not like they've ever met. But he's walking with someone. And the someone that he's walking with is Begum Bashundhara, because I think the reason that like he was walking around town is that they were meant to be in a meeting with his daughter, and then the meeting didn't happen. And then he was like, "Oh, would you like to like go on a stroll while we wait?" And then they happened to run into each other. So I think the risky consequence here is that like Upi will meet the two people that he was supposed to be escorting his employer to. And as for the reason why didn't all of this just happen at once, it's because nobles are complicated and sometimes they want to have a change of clothes before anything happens. And Bashundhara is going to recognize him.
Yeah. And also me.
Yes,
and
indeed, exactly.
Now,
of course, you can resist this, and I think you can resist it by basically either directing him in some other direction or doing something else. I don't know what. But
now I'm concerned. I was thinking, but I'm thinking also like, do I want to resist? Because this seems like
it's kind of exactly what you want, right? Because he will be sufficiently distracted. He will just be distracted in a way that may not be good for you.
Yeah. Let's say we, I don't resist. Like we just run.
So I think in that case, what is going to happen is that Lord Ashcroft is going to recognize you. Say, my son-in-law's uncle, Abbas Shafi al-Din Chakraborty, isn't it?
It is. What's Lord Ashcroft's first name again?
Archibald. You can blame
Archibald.
Klow for that one.
Yeah. Abbas is not gonna be like outright hostile. Goes, oh yes, it is. Archibald, I believe.
Yes, and then Bashundhara will say, Abbas, I see you are poking around where you don't belong, and we have met.
This is my city.
Yeah,
this is my city, Begum. I belong everywhere.
Abbas, you are an old man. You refuse to move with the times. Speak not to me of things that belong to your city. Your own god has admitted that your temple should be refurbished.
It's a matter of debate.
You would dare debate with your god?
You don't know I think Abbas is going to get a little indignant. It's like, you don't know our ways. You pretend to know, but...
I think it is so interesting because this woman is genuinely like under a divine edict. So she's going to be like, I do not need to know your ways. He lives in me. His will is my will. He has decreed that the temple must be changed, and I am to be one of the agents of that change.
And I think I was going to change can come in many ways, Begum Bashundhara, and it remains to be seen which way we go.
Yes, well, and I think like Archibald will interject here and he'll say, all this talk of temples is quite dull to me personally. We were hoping to meet your nephew's sister-in-law, and I think like for some reason I've decided that Archibald Ashcroft has a very like oblique way of speaking. So he will say, instead of saying my daughter, he will say, we were hoping to meet
Right.
your nephew's sister-in-law who said she would meet us for some very important contract, one that I signed just this morning. Unfortunately, that has not come to pass. So I am afraid that we must no longer detain you. And he'll give you like a little like polite smile as if to say, kindly fuck off now.
Yeah, Abbas can just return that smile. And so have they not noticed that Goopy was with me? Or have they
No.
just
I think Bashundhara did notice, and then you successfully distracted her because she was about to make some cutting comment. And then I think when you said, "Oh, this is my city, I can go wherever I like," she was like, "Well, go fuck yourself." And as a result, I genuinely think that like, yeah, there's going to be like, "Oh, I recognize you, but you're with him, fine, whatever, not my problem," because she thinks she won a rhetorical victory over you.
I don't know. It looks like we kind of just.
You can genuinely just wander off here now, I think.
Yeah.
Because that is how the fiction looks.
Yeah, I think I don't know. I think I can just go to Goopy and says that. Oh, I mean, looks like they've got that sorted out. You just want to grab some cha?
Yeah. No. There's a very good place in Passarantu. They make incredible samosa. You want to come with me? Like, I think.
Oh yeah, I think I heard about it. I've been meaning to go there.
Yeah, and I think like you as you wander away chatting about this, it's not like these two are gonna head for this cafe, right? They don't know that like this is where the meeting is. You just happen to run into them on the street. But it's very funny to me, this idea that all of you are in the same like vicinity, but the one thing that you needed not to happen is not happening. But V enters the cafe. Zoheb, how do you imagine her? Like, what is her demeanor like?
I'm imagining someone who is very, very fit, like incredibly spare, like 3% body fat, something like that. Like really, really bony. Quite short, with like half of her head totally shaved, the other half like kind of like with like the swept forward kind of bangs kind of thing. And I think like but like in addition to that, like the way she holds herself is like she is always going to beat the shit out of someone. Like just kind of like striding forward, super stiff, like needs like a back massage for 3 months to iron out all the kinks kind of thing. And she just strides forward and probably like confronts a waiter and asks like where Lizzie is, something like that.
Yes, very good. Yeah. And I think as soon as she asks where, and she won't say Lizzie necessarily.
One more thing. Sorry.
Yeah, no, go on.
I think she has an impenetrable accent where she has to repeat herself many times, and that is part of what pisses her off all the time.
This is incredible because now at some point I do have to voice her. So very good. Thank you for this gift.
Yes.
Yeah, she's gonna say, you know what, like ask for the Ashcrofts and be pointed towards the private room, and she will. Yeah, I think like unless something stops her, like the three of them, you know, walk through the restaurant into the corridor, the screen where presumably Joan is kind of standing. Not even pay her a second look and like walk in.
Perfect. Where are we on the contract now? Has Miraz like finished it and put it back in the jacket, or is he like what's the situation there?
I think I've finished it, put it back inside the jacket. I've stolen some of Lizzie's money. I haven't stolen the entire wallet because she'd probably notice that's gone.
Yeah.
But like I've stolen like enough of her money that there's still plenty left, but like she probably won't realize. And I have gone and paid her bill. And I'm trying to I think I'm trying to like collect Joan, who probably seems to have like you know, I was joking about the whole absolute ledge thing, but maybe she has had more than a few.
Perfect. Okay, so in that case, I think what I want to do is I want to convince Elizabeth that these people are coming for her. They're the Hive. They're very bad news, and she should take her contract, get out, and go see Bashundhara post haste. And so, as they come down, I think Vickers will like hiss at Elizabeth, like, "Do you hear that? It's the Hive. You'd best get out. Take the jacket. Take your contract. Get going now. Chop chop. Hurry."
They're coming. They're coming for me. Oh my god! Yeah, and I think actually,
The big door.
yeah, I think you're actually in a desperate position because there's two things that can go wrong, and the first is that the Hive get to you before this happens, and the second is that the Hive realize you're tampering with the contract, which are kind of linked but separate problems.
Yeah. So I am not, by the way, I am not attempting to defend myself. I want Elizabeth to get away so that she doesn't have to have this confrontation.
Yeah.
This is a funny situation because in this moment, Elizabeth feels like I'm helping her.
Yes.
But I'm absolutely screwing her over long term.
Yeah,
because
absolutely.
This is really going to damage her relationship with the Hive.
Yeah. And it's also going to make her relationship with her father very complicated because he's then going to go back and say they tried to attack me, and her dad is going to be like, "What the fuck?" So, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So I'm commanding her to get out, and the other part I'm doing of this is that as she is scrambling to leave, I'm going to kick down this fucking screen and confront the people of the Hive. They're not coming after my sister. This is
like on the side. Mira's is like, "No, John. No, stop chewing the tea leaf. Go. I don't know what's wrong with you. Let's go. We can't make a scene."
And so screw it. I will activate my special ability. I'm commanding, and I'm commanding two people. I'm commanding Elizabeth to get away, and I'm commanding the Hive to not start something. So I will activate the Tiger's Fury and push violently against your enemies, knocking them back down or over. And the way I'm doing this is I'm kicking the privacy screen into them.
Okay, yeah. So desperate standard before you push, because if you push for effect, that will absolutely become great effect.
I'm pushing for a dark. I just want standard effect. My goal here is to have Elizabeth get away and kind of for the Hive to realize that, like, you know, they may be annoyed with me, but there's nothing for them here because Elizabeth isn't here.
Yeah.
You know?
And to be honest, while Miraz is like, don't create a scene, guys, his wife kicking over a screen is absolutely going to create a scene. So it seems like this is already your devil's bargaining yourself because the reputations of the Ashcrofts, which has already kind of set gossip mongers going in this tea house, is now going to take a further hit.
I don't think I will take this devil's bargain for the reason that I'm deliberately trying to screw up our reputation a little bit. And the reason for that is, of course, I'm going to like call out the Hive and be like, "You brutes, leave Elizabeth Ashcroft alone."
Okay, very good.
I want them to seem bad, so I'm not taking this devil's bargain. I want it to seem like, you know, these brutes are coming after Elizabeth Ashcroft, so she will look weak.
Yeah.
Because she's like scared of these thugs.
Yeah, and she can't defend herself. She needs her big sister to come do it. She keeps complaining about her big sister, so why is she helping her? Yeah,
but I will not take the devil's bargain because we're not looking like criminals, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I want me to look like I'm defending my sister against these ruffians that came out of nowhere.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's the impression I'm creating. So I will not take the devil's bargain.
Yeah, okay. So in that case, desperate standard. What are you rolling?
Command. Because I'm commanding her to get away and I'm commanding the Hive to stand down. But I am activating my ability to knock people over automatically as part of it.
Nice. Yeah. Very cool use of the ability in conjunction with the roll, I think.
Yeah, my goal is not for there to be a fight, right? My goal is for the screen to fall into them, for me to be like, leave my sister alone.
Yeah.
And for them to do precisely that.
Yeah.
So
absolutely. Oh my god.
I fail.
A 3, a 2, a 1, and a 3. By the way, the odds of not rolling above a 4 on 4 dice are like minuscule. It's like 6%.
Yeah.
So it's very funny. I know what happens. So you say this, and Elizabeth believes you.
Yeah.
So she's making for the door so she can slip out. But I think what happens is that V, as the door opens, looks at Elizabeth and says, "Oh Lord, I'll be this person. Give me one moment while I think about how I'm going to try and be this impenetrably speaking woman, and not make it like a."
You have an amazing American accent.
No.
Well, I can do like an American accent, but like it is really bad. No.
Okay, just because you suggested it be American now, I'm visualizing this woman talking like Boomhauer, the thing all
Yeah. Yeah.
Do like a Al Capone thing.
Oh my god.
I don't know, just like looking for that thing.
What you want to see? Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think, in fact, when she sees Elizabeth, her face softens, and then she makes like a series of noises approximating, "Oh, you're all right," and then like draws her in for like a kiss. Because I think the way that Elizabeth got into the hive and like got them to trust her with something very important is that her and V like formed like quite a close and romantic bond very quickly.
Okay, this is perfect. So part of the consequence is that she's in deep with the hive.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, I think like I
love this.
I wasn't sure whether I would make this true, but like on this roll, I was like, no, this is definitely what's gonna happen. So she sees this.
I was really struggling not to describe the haircut, describe for V as a lesbian haircut.
But it turns out
it is a lesbian haircut.
because it belongs to a lesbian. Yes.
Yes.
And she, I think she looks at you, and then like a look of pure fury appears in her eyes, Vickers, because this is
so perfect.
This is not just business. This is personal. This is like her new, exciting, rich girlfriend's terrible, no good, evil elder sister come to ruin everything that like Lizzie touches, like she always does. And then like she kind of like again in her impenetrable accent that I'm gonna have to work on now. There's something like Vickers.
Yes, perfect. So this is perfect because it hits Vickers' one weakness, which is socially awkward situations. Like, we have seen that Vickers isn't afraid of anything, but she really doesn't like embarrassing people. So Vickers actually goes like, "Oh, terribly sorry, I didn't realize. Oh, I must have misunderstood the. I shall give you some privacy. I shall leave you alone. Yes, very good. Sorry." And I think Vickers is actually just going to completely stand down and leave.
Yeah, but I think like the awkward thing here, the reason you can't fully leave yet is that Elizabeth is going, "No, the hive are here to attack me. They're here to and like doesn't realize necessarily that V is one of the hives. So V's like, "Oh, you've poisoned her against me." I mean, not realizing that this is literally what's happened. So she's like, she looks at one of her friends, like kind of like very delicately, like with a lot of care, kind of like takes Elizabeth by the hand, murmurs something like quite soothing. One of the reasons, by the way, that Elizabeth and V get on really well is that like Elizabeth does not need V to translate or repeat what she's saying. She gets it first try. So like kind of gives her over to like her friend to be like, "You take care of her." And then she turns around and looks at you, and then like, "You don't need this translating." She says, "You, me, now."
No, for comical effect, I think Vickers is not going to understand this at all. So if I need to roll something to leave, I will. But like as she turns away and is distracted for a moment, Vickers would just go like, "Terribly sorry, I'll let you get on with it."
I think
as she's issuing her challenge, I'm just going to leave.
Okay.
So and I'm good at leaving, so I will leave through a window if I have to. It's less awkward.
Yeah, you may need to. Yeah, you may need to create an exit.
Yes.
May I do it for you?
Yes, please do.
Yeah. I was just gonna say you will need to roll because she's very motivated to make you stay, so that she can tell you all the ways in which you have failed her sister. Sorry, your sister. She's been dreaming about this moment for about 10 days.
Miraz, please get me out of here. This is very awkward.
Yeah.
So with one arm dragging Joan, who I don't know is chewing tea leaves or something. I have no idea what she's up to.
She is ramping about still waiting to get some tea from delivered by the.
Oh, yeah. You haven't received the tea yet.
No.
Excellent, of course. Yeah. Okay, fine. Then I'm dragging you as you're, I don't know, ranting and raving. and I'm already looking stressed and harassed, and I see this scene. I don't really fully understand it, but clearly Vickers wants to leave. So I take Vickers with my other arm, and I look at V, and I look at Lizzie, and I say, "Well, you're one to talk, Lizzie. You're one to talk about disreputable and unsuitable partners. Ha! Well, this is what you're talking about. This is what you want to be, who you want to be with. Someone who sounds like they're chewing an entire beard while they're speaking, whose mouth sounds like they're full of warm marbles. Ha! And I'm going to leave with Vickers, and I'm going to leave with Joan, and then I'm going to take them both. And before I leave, I'm going to smash a bottle of binding oil on the floor.
Huh?
So that anyone who tries to follow after us, their shoes are just going to get stuck to the floor.
Okay.
Okay. I think that like you are absolutely confirming, and let's be clear that V Paihar is both an incredibly sensitive and loving partner, and absolutely a murderer, and like a scoundrel of like every single stripe and form that you can imagine, right? Like she's not a nice person.
Yeah.
I'm
adding her as my new rival. I feel like I have two rivals now.
And I think
I feel like that's a suitable consequence.
the reason that I say this is that you are both confirming every story that Elizabeth has ever told her about how you behave towards her right now. So this has become very personal.
Yes.
And yeah, so roll.
I think it should be desperate.
Yeah, I was going to say it's desperate. You can do this, standard effect. And in fact, given the binding oil, it's great effect in that on anything less than a 4, they literally won't be able to come after you because they will step in the binding oil and they will be stuck, right?
Which will be very funny.
Yeah, but I think the desperate consequences here, I mean, there are a few, right? There's the fact that like they both now hate your guts and one of them is very high up in the hive. There's the ensuing family drama with Archibald Ashcroft. There's the fact that the hive now realizes something is going on. There's a lot of stuff. So let's roll and we'll see exactly which of those goes wrong.
I have a devil's bargain for myself. So there's some goons in the Imperial Quarter, and we're respectable people. Okay, so one of us is being a bit too loud about their demands for tea, but that's fine. But we're on the right side of the law. These guys aren't, and they are probably going to get stuck on some binding oil. Yeah, I think I'm going to tell the waiter and turn around and say, "Well, don't just stand there. Call the constabulary or the consulate guards or the silver nails, or get someone over here to clean these ruffians up."
You want to call the cops on yourself?
I'm going to call the cops on them.
Yes.
I'm a respectable citizen, and I'm.
Yes, indeed. Very good. So let's briefly talk about how we imagine law enforcement in Uduasha. In the Imperial Quarter, I imagine that they have received special dispensation that the Empire can employ its own kind of watch force, because in general, the way that like law enforcement works in Uduasha is that every like district and every community has its own kind of homegrown security. And I think what that means is that, problems on the scale of the hive, they may not be able to tackle, but like smaller things are definitely kind of dealt with in different ways, depending on not only on which district you're in, but also how that district has its, I hesitate even to call it a police force, right? Because it's not exactly state sponsored. Yeah. Though, of course, everybody's got to fill out a form because we are still, in a bureaucratic dystopia. But I think that's quite complicated. But I think in Uduasha, in the Imperial Quarter, they are not called bluecoats because the Uduashan Imperial kind of constabulary wear immaculate white dresses. And
I have a suggestion here that can tie into this. There's like 2 institutions that I wrote up when I wrote up the Imperial Quarter. Yeah. There's 2 institutions that guard the Lord Governor and the area that could be relevant here. There's the Imperial Military itself. It has like a few people, and like I live near a cantonment, and so they have MPs doing traffic duty and so on. So they might be Imperial military police. They might also be Silver Nails, who are a mercenary company of Severuses that are mentioned They're vanilla blades, and I like the idea of them being here too.
Okay, I think let's say that the Silver Nails have managed a lucrative contract to do the police work in the Imperial Quarter, right? And the Silver Nails are actually a mercenary company known best for A, riding horses, not very common in a world where like feeding large mammals is quite tough, and B, fighting ghosts because the horses eat ghosts. And
sounds good.
I think that like we see that the there are these two. I mean, there's regular patrols. If you yell Silver Nail loud enough, probably one of them is in shouting distance. And they will probably, if you want to summon them, they will come riding on horses. Absolutely.
I really like this idea that the law enforcement also come from a completely different ethnicity from everyone else. It's very much like the Gurkhas in various countries, right? Like elite military forces that don't really come from here, but that do the law enforcement.
Yeah. This sort of thing is kind of like my special geek interest. But yeah, we can talk about that later. Okay, Silver Nails it is. Devil's Bargain. To draw them in.
Yeah, 100%.
Maybe that'll be a good thing. Maybe that'll be bad. We'll see how this goes.
We'll see how it goes.
It'll be at least partly a bad thing because it's the Devil's Bargain.
Yes. A 1, a 4, and a 6.
Okay.
And that's
the Silver Nails save the day.
I mean, I think that what happens is that so one of your abilities, which I have to constantly remember that you have, is the good stuff, which is to say everybody has heard of you and some people know you really well. And I think what makes sense to me is that one of the Silver Nails who appears knows the Ceaseless Temple. Maybe they are not a devotee, maybe they don't, come to your temple to pray, but certainly they respect you. And I think that is what is helping you here. So we see these two Silver Nails kind of ride in. They are both, I think, well-built, stocky. They ride horses. I think they ride mares, right? Like much smaller horses than the kind of more like what we now imagine when we imagine like a knight riding a horse, right? That these people are not really wearing armor. They've got a bow, which they very rarely use, and they've got a spear, which they also very rarely use because most of the work now is just they can punch someone and kind of mostly be done, right? And we see them pull up because one of them was probably like just around the corner and then like yelled for her partner. And they kind of come down, walk into the cafe, and they see that there is a scuffle happening. And I think because I don't think that like the binding oil failed. I think that like, in fact, V is stuck. And so are like Elizabeth and her friends. It's that she's still just yelling so loudly that it doesn't matter that you are trying to get away from her. But what does matter is that the Silver Nails turn up, they see that there's a commotion, and their first reaction is to separate the two of you, or the two groups, and the Silver Nail that separates you recognizes you, right? And I think that she kind of like looks at Vickers and says, "Are you a priest in the Ceaseless Temple? Your jacket is a ceremonial robe, yes?"
Oh dear me, yes. Sorry. Do the Cobra to the left, do the Cobra to the right, all that.
I forgot about that.
Cobra, Cobra.
Oh my god! I'm so sorry.
Vickers isn't that well versed.
Oh yeah.
Cobra, Cobra.
Yeah. Okay. And she kind of nods very solemnly, and she says, "Yes, indeed." He'll, and I think she says the same kind of thing for her religion, which is something like, "Hail be to the light and shadow." And then she says, "There seems to be some sort of commotion here, and like just everyone in the cafe now is looking at all of you. This is like people are going to be
Yeah.
talking about this for weeks.
Yeah, and Vickers says like, "Oh yes, it's dreadfully embarrassing. I'm afraid there's been a very big misunderstanding, and people are quite cross with me. And oh, I'm so sorry. I wish I could set it right again."
Yeah, yeah.
I think she genuinely is really sorry.
I have a question here. I have a question for Joan. So, Joan, so in the book, Blades in the Dark, like the vanilla setting, the Silver Nails, like one of the things that they're known for is having just come back as like war heroes and so on from the Unity War against Scotland. And the Silver Nails are like fairly distinctive. Not only are they Severusi, they've got the horses, they've got like that silver nail on their ring. Like it's very obvious when someone's a Silver Nail. They're like one of the most like recognizable parts of the Imperial military. How does Covenanters like feel about them and Severusis, and like how do you feel being next to one right now? Is that a thing?
Considering that they were deployed in Scotland to quell rebellions, which is, as I understand it, what the book actually means, right?
Yeah.
I feel like there would be great division, but only the most devoted imperialist or imperial favoring Scotlanders would actually have a good opinion of them. And probably one other group, that being Scotland-born railjacks, because Severosi riders and railjacks essentially do the same job. And I imagine that sometimes they might work together.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Every Silver Nail has the kind of ability to compel a ghost, right? Like that is one of the things you need to be able to do to join the organization, and or by joining the organization you get the ability to do this, right?
Yeah.
They also have Ghost Fighter.
Yeah. So I think that maybe what happens is that they even recognize something about you as being a railjack, right? Because they are not completely like without their own like powers or whatever. So yeah, I think in fact she looks at Joan and says, "Oh, a fellow spirit warrior. Did not expect to see one of our brethren in this part of the world."
I wonder what is it exactly that makes her realize that Joan was a railjack. Is it like something in, like, is there something that she can see inside your spirit? Is it something you're wearing?
I think you might hear in the real world, you might hear all these like theories and speculations about like you can see if somebody used to be a spy because they walk a certain way and they sit in a certain corner. If they sit, they always have their back to the wall. I think something that you can see in Joan is that she always has a hand, like an offhand, essentially tucked into her what's it called, belt. Because normally when you're on a train, that's where your security wire is. That's like keeping you attached to the train.
Yeah.
And this is not something that anyone would notice except if they have spent a lot of time around those trains. Because it could be an entirely normal thing for someone to stand like this.
Yeah.
But if you're a spirit warrior, you would
notice that.
Draw a different conclusion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think she will not, and this only endears you to her more, right? Like first you were just like someone to respect in terms of like being part of a religion that she's heard of. Now you're also like a sister in arms.
Yeah, and I think we see for the first time this session Joan actually acting in a mostly lucid manner, or in a rational, normal, personable manner, as she smiles and extends a hand. Retired, but retired from fighting ghosts at least. But I guess we both might be.
Yeah, not much call for our line of work in Uduasha. We spend most of our time doing this kind of thing, breaking up silly fights. Well, it's meant to be some kind of reward, but if you don't mind me saying, it is deadly dull.
You'd rather be back on the plains?
I think Miraz inserts herself into the conversation and says, especially not in the Imperial Quarter with the lightning barriers all around. If any ghosts sneak in, well, they can't sneak in, can they? And just kind of stands there, like smiling.
Will Joan be the one to publicly contradict him, or will the Silver Nail do it?
I don't think Joan would. I think Joan would make a mental note of this and be like, "Oh yeah, this is Miraz acting like Miraz."
Yeah.
She wouldn't she wouldn't pick this fight every time.
I think I, however, will intervene.
Yeah.
And I would say, like, Ross, this isn't the time. I'm very uncomfortable with the situation. Fully on his sleeve.
Yeah.
You mind if we get back home?
I think she kind of nods and she says, I think on her sakes, especially with great effect, I think what she will say is, yes, of course. This seems to be some lovers' quarrel of some kind, I suppose. If something comes up, I suppose I will find you at the temple. And if not, perhaps our paths will meet. But for now, let me help my partner. And I think like what's happening is that like her partner cannot understand what V Paihad is saying. So it's becoming steadily frustrated because on one side you are having a very pleasant conversation, and on the other, this woman is gesticulating and like saying something about who knows what, and this like Silver Nail is just like, ma'am, I'm just doing my job. I'm just trying to hang out. Do you want to speak clearly? And like
Honestly,
Mhm.
if V can't make herself understood and she's already really pissed off, it's going to take her like 30 seconds before she punches the Silver Nail in the face.
Yeah, which is, I think
at that point we should have left.
Yeah.
That's at least Victor's insistence.
Let's go.
Which I think you do. And like I will say here that like V is angry, but she also understands that if you punch an Imperial policeman in the Imperial Quarter, no amount of I'm part of the hive is really going to save you. So like, we'll see how that goes. But the impulse is definitely there, and you should leave before the chance that it erupts takes hold.
Yeah. And Victor's is definitely running away from this situation. This got very awkward.
Yeah. I'm gonna make a mental note of the fact that like of everything that happened in this score, like meeting your sister's girlfriend was the worst thing that happened to you.
Yes. Oh yes, definitely.
Yeah.
I am already planning to use my downtime action to mitigate this and do some damage control.
Very good. And I think like that is in fact a good place to cut the score, because I think you make your exit. The contract will make its way into wherever it needs to go into time. The part of me that's like maybe you run into your dad, but yeah, aside from that.
Yeah. Aside from the hubbub at the end, I think this actually went really well. We changed the contract to say what we wanted. We now have Bashundhara depending on us. So she's on the committee, but she's also not a problem. We made some money.
Yeah.
We didn't even have to pay the tab at the restaurant.
Oh my god, it's so funny because I think you're right that like you leave and there's like a waiter who's like, wait a sec.
No, Miraz took care of it. He actually stole some of Elizabeth's money and paid for her.
Yeah, very good.
So
excellent. Okay, so in that case, yeah.
And so blows out our brief candle. I named the disciples of the ceaseless temple thus, with both their false names and true. Soumithri, called Tree as the GM. Zoheb, called Klow as Miraz. Prince as Vickers. Emma as Joan. Aadiyat, called Soap as Abbas. Blades in the Dark and the original inspiration for Uduasha by John Harper and Evil Hat Productions. Iruvian playbooks by Johnstone Metzger. Jalandhar intro music by Kevin MacLeod. Outro music in Keeravani Ragam by U. Srinivas. Follow us at Desperate Attune on Twitter or email us at desperateattune@gmail.com. Support us at kofi.com/desperateattune.